Hi, this is Sebastien and welcome to the Fire Belgium show. In this episode, we speak with Anna Boroshok. Anna is the founder of the community called Fearless Female Founders. She put this community together a few years ago to be able to connect and network with like-minded women entrepreneurs. Anna joins us today to share her journey from humble beginnings and climbing her way up in corporate life, traveling around the world, and then finally establishing herself in Belgium and starting her journey as an entrepreneur. Anna really shares a lot of personal stories in this interview. She talks about her challenges in corporate life, um, her time at Google, and then her time back here in Belgium after she moved. The different things that happened to her, and that basically led her to really embrace her journey as a woman entrepreneur. She talks a lot about the mistakes she made and how she would do it differently today. So she shares her tips and techniques to do this better. If you're just starting as an entrepreneur, and especially if you're a woman, then I think you will find this talk very encouraging, very inspiring. Anna has gone through a lot, and she shares her struggles. She says her experiences and the lessons learned with all of us, so that we don't have to make the same mistakes. This was a really interesting conversation. I've learned a lot from it, and I'm sure you will as well. Anna has been very generous, and she's put together a series of resources that she's compiled in one document. You can find that directly in the description of this video, alongside her guide to stock investing. And you will find there as well my guide to index investing, as well as the links to her community, Fearless Female Founders, her website, and the Fire Belgium communities as well. This was a very unique interview, one that I really enjoyed, and I hope you will as well. So without further ado, let's welcome Anna Boroshok. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Would you like to introduce yourself before we start? Is there anything specific you want to share to start with?
No, I would just like to say thanks and congratulate everyone who joined us, because, the 3 years ago when I was making my first attempt of being self-employed, I couldn't find any community like this, believe me or not, because the online sphere is developing so fast, and back 3 years there was nothing like this. So I'm so happy actually to share my experience, that I can share the experience with you, so you could learn from my mistakes and also exchange and maybe add something to that. Because the best way to learn for me, it's learning from someone who has already been on that journey, who made the mistakes, and who can share that experience. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today with you, and I hope I will be helpful. I will definitely share useful resources with you as well. I would like to give one disclosure though. I am not a tax expert. I am self-employed rather than entrepreneur, but it's my wishful thinking. Let's say I want to call myself multipreneur, but I think I'm not quite there yet, even though I went through so many difficulties. I have learned so much, and I'm so eager to share with you. So you wouldn't, make the same mistakes again. So the disclosure is that whatever you hear here, it might be not 100% truth. So you need to cross-check yourself. You need to go to accountants, to specialists in that area, and cross-check it, because as you know, Belgium changing rules every now and then. So you need to be very cautious about that, and always cross-check before you do something, or you don't do something.
Yeah, so that's an important disclaimer. We always have that, especially when we talk about money and business. We're not professionals. We're not being paid to do this, and we're not giving any personal advice. So everything you need to check for yourself as well with professionals. So Anna, again, thanks for joining. Yes, you have a very interesting story which you share on your website. Anyone interested, please make sure to check Anna's website. It's www.we-fearless.com. Is that right?
I will type it in the chat. It's
Yeah.
wefearless.com.
There you
Yeah,
go.
but there is a book there now on promotion. Be aware that link doesn't work for now. But,
Okay.
if you're really interested, I can share it with you. But for now, yeah, just know that it doesn't work.
So yeah, you share your story there, and it's I mean, it's very inspiring. So I was hoping you could share a little bit with us, a bit of your journey, where you were 10, 20 years ago, where you are today, and what has changed.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because 20 years ago I was in Uzbekistan. This is where I was born. And please let me know, anyone, if you know Uzbekistan, because many people don't even know that this country actually exists. So I was born in the middle of a desert in Uzbekistan, from Russian parents, and it was during the Soviet Union. And the reason why it is important to mention that is because during Soviet Union, there were no entrepreneurs. There was no business. Everyone was working for the government. There is no this mindset, that you can go out there and invent something, create a project, help someone with socially responsible enterprises. There was nothing like that. And I was born in a very normal dysfunctional Soviet family where the people had to stay together because they had to stay together. But eventually, when the Soviet Union collapsed, my parents and our family also has collapsed. And I kind of promised myself that I will take care of me and my mom, because we were really struggling, financially speaking. I remember the times where I had to walk in shoes with holes, like for 3 seasons. And it's a very painful experience. And yeah, I remember my mom saving every penny to give me further education. But yeah, again, so the environment where I grew up, there was no entrepreneurship whatsoever, so this mindset and approach to being independent, being responsible for your own stuff, let's say, it wasn't in my mind. And this was a huge stopper when I was trying to go into entrepreneurship. I basically refused to take the responsibility for taxation, for finances, and I paid very high bills for that. So this is, the beginning of my story. And so my mom actually managed to, let's say, trick me into being a good student, because I failed my first year to enter the university, because in Uzbekistan you can only enter one university per year. So if you fail that university, you have to wait for the whole year to enter another university, or the same university next year. So I failed, and my mom told me, well, okay, you failed, my dear. I will do my best to find you teachers so you would enter the university in the next year. But if you don't, I will find you a job of a nanny in creche and in kindergarten. And this scared the hell out of me. I mean, I don't mind people working with children, but this is not what I wanted. And not in the middle of a desert. I didn't want that. So I entered actually the best university in the country. And no one could believe that, because that was the university where children of diplomats were studying, wunderkinds, super smart children, and then that was me. So everyone was like surprised and asking my mom, where did you take money to give a bribe? Because Uzbekistan is a country of bribes, and basically you can buy everything or anything there. And that was my first stair, let's say, towards my personal growth. So after graduating that university, I went to study in Poland. So people who are listening us from Poland or Polish, I studied in Warsaw, and it was a very difficult school for me. That's where I learned what plagiarism is, because in Uzbekistan you copy paste scientific works. Then I went to study to Italy, and eventually I ended up in Ireland. So I lived in 7 countries. Belgium is now my 8th country. I ended up in Ireland, and that's where my, let's say, corporate career, real corporate career has started. So I have worked in Accenture, Microsoft, and Google, and it was a typical, I would say, the projection, I think, of a lot of people, you know, when, since we are kids, we are told you have to study hard, you need to be a good girl, you need to get a good job, and that's when you will be happy. So that was my journey. That's when I was going. So I was a good girl. I studied well. I got in very good companies. I was earning very good salaries. I bought an apartment for my mom. But the story is still not that glamorous, you know, because usually the stories that I hear about how I became an entrepreneur is, okay, I was working in this amazing company and I was climbing my career ladder, not stairs, sorry. I was climbing my career ladder. I became a manager, and then I decided to build my business, and I went there and I built a business, and that was successful. That's not my story. That's not my story. And I want actually to hear stories like mine more, because they are the majority ones, because people who kind of dare to write books, they write the books or stories about how they just shifted to entrepreneurship and it just worked out fine for them. So my journey was very, very thorny. So when I was working in Google, after 4 years, like I started feeling that I'm drained because I was working overtime a lot. I have one trait in my personality that I'm not attentive to details. So I don't pay attention to details. So I'm a Gemini. And, you know, I want to embrace everything, you know, in the like a big picture. And when it comes to small things, it really bores and stresses me. And that showed up at work as well. So my manager also started asking me, is it really something that you want to continue doing? And I was convinced that I actually do want to continue digital marketing at Google and working for the best employer in the world, having like the best salary as well. But the truth is that I had burnouts all the time. I was working until 8, 9, 10 p.m. I could come home and easily continue working again. So I started feeling, okay, then I should try myself in business. Like, what do I want? And of course, like working in business, I was working with YouTubers as well, with influencers, and they were earning insane amounts of money. So I was working with Russian influencers, and they were asking, like back then, that was more than 7 years now ago, they were asking $3,000 for like 1 minute of mentioning something. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be YouTube influencer. So I bought a good camera. I bought all the equipment and everything, and I started recording the videos. And I decided to do it about like beauty vlogging. And, you know, working in Google, which was taking so much time, coming home, recording videos, I was like so drained. And after 3 months, I thought, okay, I gotta give up. But give up also because I didn't see the response that I wanted to see. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see among people who are trying to build, let's say, their businesses or their projects. They don't see a response within 2-3 months, and they assume that it's not working. And this is where social media confuses us a lot, because we are like bombarded by ads. And I wonder if you agree. If you agree, maybe put some pluses or something. I want to see your engagement, that you're listening, that you're agreeing or maybe disagreeing. So we are bombarded by ads where they tell us, start your business in 3 weeks. I don't know, start earning your millions in 3 months and stuff like that. So I was influenced a lot by that. And a lot of people are influenced by that and confused by that and mistaken by that. Unfortunately, this is not how it works. You don't, spend 3 times on your project and your business and expect that it will start bringing you money. And then there is the second mistake coming out of that, because there are a lot of women in my group, in my community, who are writing me, and they're telling me, look, I've got this brilliant idea. It's so common. It's like so funny. Like I come back to me several years ago with all those brilliant ideas, but no idea what it takes to implement them. So they come to me and they say, I have this brilliant idea and I think it's going to work. Should I leave job now? No. Unless you have, I don't know, minimum 1 year of safety caution in money, don't do that. Particularly women, because women, if men, they're kind of motivated by risk. I don't say like all of them maybe, but men are usually like driven by risk, while women, when we don't have security, when we see the risk, we freeze. And this is when I can come back to my story. So I decided to quit Google because I was just burning myself down over and over again. So I just couldn't take it anymore. I was in Ireland for 7 years already. So that's where I worked in Google. And I joined my partner in Belgium here. He's Belgian. And I started working in a small agency, digital marketing agency. And my journey in Belgium turned into a nightmare. Really. It's my 8th country, and I have this kind of hate-love relationship with Belgium because, I was never really a star in the corporate world, but I was never fired. And in Belgium, there was this crazy thing of me being fired over and over again. But I don't know if anyone who is listening to us was ever fired in Belgium. In the beginning, I was very frustrated. But now I understand why I was fired, because I come from American culture, very pushy, very kind of do first and think after. While in Belgium, it's more, let's think, let's discuss, maybe. So I was very pushy. I was pushing on the management where I was not supposed to do that. But it's already like the past story. And that's not the message. My message is that being fired in Belgium is actually a gift. I don't know about other countries because I haven't been fired in other countries, but being fired in Belgium, I figured after my 3rd firing that it's actually a gift, because the first times I didn't take advantage of that. But talking about my first attempt of being self-employed. So when I lost the job, I thought, my God, this is an amazing opportunity actually to pursue what I want to do. I always loved sharing the information. I always loved motivating people to learn about digital marketing, about their potential, about their personal development. And so this is an amazing opportunity to actually go and create the academy and create courses about digital marketing. And I had quite some savings, by the way. I had some savings, but I burned them within, I think, 6 months. And I got completely frozen. And the reason why I got completely frozen is because I didn't take time to understand Belgian system. That I didn't know that I had to register in social welfare. I didn't know that I had to submit VAT taxes. And then I was already late, for doing that. And when I have registered, so all the bills started to come in. And the thing about, the mindset of being self-employed is so much different from being the corporate mindset, let's say. Because in corporate, you just get your salary and that's it. You don't care about anything. You just consume it or you save it partially. But when you're self-employed, you really need to know every penny that comes in, every penny that comes out. You need to know what is the balance, how much you can spend on your personal expenses, how much you can spend on your business expenses to optimize it financially speaking. So
yeah, I want to jump in here quickly, Anna, because
Sure.
something that you mentioned, some people in the audience are Belgian, right? So for Belgian people, VAT, Social Security, Social Security benefits and all of this stuff, it's already in the DNA of people, right? And whenever they do something, there's everyone around them that already knows this stuff and that just tells them how to do it. And it's very different, at least for employed people, right? So you coming from outside, like I know the shock. I know the shock because it's weird for me because I'm Belgian, but I came back to Belgium 8 years after being outside. And I came back and I was like, oh my God, how do I handle all this paperwork and all of these things and different systems? You have to register there, register here, register there. There's still a few things I haven't managed to handle despite being here for a year. And even things where I'm supposed to get money, right? I'm not doing anything. I just need to register. I would get money and I haven't done it yet. Well, it's just that it's overwhelming for someone coming from outside. So all the expats out there, like if you are managing this well, know that you have a superpower because most expats struggle with this at first. And I think that would be something interesting to develop. Someone who could just put it all together and say, hey, this is the expat package. Whenever you land in Belgium, make sure you handle all of this properly because this is a big potential for mistakes. And then the other aspect is moving from being employed to self-employed. And that's another whole system that you have to understand. So you've gone through both of those almost at the same time. And I can imagine that being overwhelming and all of the ways that you can make mistakes and then be penalized by a country that's supposed to support you, but ends up charging you for different things and then penalizing you for being late, but they never told you that we're supposed to do it in the first place. So it's really complicated because we're supposed to learn all of this stuff on our own and check everything before we do anything, but we don't even know that stuff exists. So completely feel you there. It's a crazy experience. And so tell us more about that because that's and I mean, how do you how you talked about something being you said being a gift. Like how is that a gift when you get
exactly.
I think that's a really interesting part.
I wanted to continue about that. The reason why it is a gift, and you probably guess why it is so, is because you are supported by social welfare. And so when women, I will tell a little bit more about it later. Just want to follow the flow. So when women ask me should I quit my job and start, pursuing my my idea, I usually say that you should probably start with complementary independent. And this is when you pay, you can pay social welfare contributions, which are not too high, because most of the time when people get to know that they have to pay around 700 euro minimum per quarter for social contributions, they get completely scared. And actually, that's what scared me. I couldn't understand how, you can start your own business when you don't generate income yet. And by the way, be prepared for that. The income might not come in 3 months, in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years. And they still have to pay 700 euro. They still have to pay that. So what you can do, so there are two approaches. So the first one, while you're still working, you can try to reduce your amount of hours working for that company. Let's say you can work 4 days per week. And I know that there can be some limiting beliefs about that. It's like, okay, who is going to hire me for 4 days a week? But actually, there are companies out there who are searching for people like this. So you might try to reduce the number of hours you work in the corporate world, or you can even work for 5 days, but you can register yourself as a complementary independent. And in that case, you don't need to pay 700 euro. You pay around, I think, 95 euro, something like that, per quarter. And that will allow you to start working on your business or on your idea. The second way is to get fired. Is to get fired. Well, you don't usually do it on purpose, but it happens. I think in Belgium, it happens quite often. Actually, the last time I got fired, or let's say I lost the job, is because the agency didn't have clients anymore. So they had to let me go. And I had first 2 or 3 months of support from the company. And I registered for chômage. And when I was fired for the second time, this is something I haven't done because I didn't know about that. I mean, just imagine, I have 3 higher educations, and I didn't have enough of brain to think that I can actually register for chômage. Or I thought, me in chômage, it's kind of, it was touching my dignity. But then I understood the benefits actually of chômage, that it can give you time for learning about how to be self-employed and building your business gradually. So that's what happened to me. I got 3 months of support from my previous company, and then I had how is it in English? I already forgot, even chômage.
Social security.
Social security. Yeah, and by the way, because we are paying so much for social security, I wasn't at all ashamed to be on chômage this time, because the social contributions we are paying are insane. But there is another trick in here. So when you are on chômage, you can actually also register as complementary independent if you work for something like Smart. I don't know if you heard about, well, it's not only Smart there, but it's basically cooperative that hires you. So you are theoretically an employee, but practically you are like freelancer. So you don't sit in their office, you are doing your own activity. You are making the invoices for your customers. It's Smart who is processing those invoices. So basically you are buying time and you are having support from the government as well. So it can really help you to kind of take your time to build your business. So that's what I did. And when I felt that I was ready to go into full, being fully self-employed, I took my time to learn this time about social contributions, how much I need to pay, when I need to pay, when do I need to pay VAT taxes, when do I need to fill out the declaration. I took time to find an accountant. So when I felt ready, I said, okay, I take out the needle of chômage. I quit Smart and I went fully independent in April. And the difference that I can feel between the first attempt and the second attempt is actually huge. Because the first time, I didn't take time, as I told you, to learn about everything. And when bills started to come in, I started to panic. So when you are not mentally prepared for that, and I was receiving the bills like of minimum social contributions, so around 700 euro per quarter, and that would make me panic a lot. And yesterday I got a bill of almost 6,000 euro for social contributions. And at first, you know, I looked at it, I was like, that's a lot. But then, you know, because I'm tracking all my incoming things and outgoing things, I know the distribution, and this is another lesson that I want to share with you. So when you are self-employed, yes, and even if you're not self-employed, start tracking your expenses. What are you spending money on? Where money come from? And know the balance. I don't know. So for example, I know that I spent on business, I don't know, 40%, and I spent on my personal life also around 40%. And then the remaining part, well, I'm mixing the numbers now, but it's more. I put away straight away money for taxes. So when the bills come in, I'm not so stressed. So I know more or less how much I need to have saved. So when I pay taxes, when invoices are coming, I'm not that stressed. I can see the question there from Ruby. Does complementary mean having still your main job and you start a side job hustle? Yeah, exactly. That's what it means. And I think someone, Fabian, actually wrote, you can be complementary if you have 19 hours a week or more, no need to necessarily work 4 days a week. And then you pay about 85 euro per quarter. Yeah, that's right. And I know this stresses a lot of people, you know, like that you have to pay 700 euro per quarter or even more. But anyways, you know, talking about those 6,000 euro bill that I have got, because I took time to learn a bit about taxes and social contributions, I knew that that number is incorrect. So that was 6,000 for 2 quarters. And I was like, my God, 3,000 euro per quarter for social contributions. Like, I'm not a millionaire. Come on, guys.
So what happened there? Do you know?
Yeah, so what happened? Because Xerius is just beside in here. And guys, please let me know if you are feeling confused about the social contributions. Maybe I will summarize a little bit what you need to do when you shift into being fully self-employed, where you need to go, or where you need to register, and so on and so forth. But okay, let's stick to the story. So Xerius is one of those agencies that takes care of social contributions. So it's just here, 200 meters away. So I grabbed the paper and I went directly to them. You know, talking about the responsibility, because before I would hide in my shell and pretend that nothing has happened. You know? And when you're self-employed, you have to take the responsibility of your money. It's extremely important. So I went there, and yeah, the issue was super simple, and I was like, how could I miss that, you know? But when you are an immigrant, when you are an expat and you don't speak local languages, you don't know them, you do these kind of mistakes. So basically what I did, when you register in those agencies, you need to give them a projected revenue. So what I did, I gave them the projected revenue. I think it's brutto, you know, when you don't deduct your business expenses. So basically, when you register there, you first need to deduct your business expenses, and then you give them the projected revenue. And based on that projected revenue, they will be charging you the social contributions. And as I told you, I will share with you some links where you can read more about that. Sometimes I'm still confused about things, so I need to read and reread and reread it. But basically you are paying about, I think, 20.5% for social contributions. It's huge. I think you're paying more or less the same amount when you are an employee. But the thing is that when you're an employee, you don't see all that shizzle. You don't know what's happening. You're just getting, I don't know, half of your salary, and that's it. But when sometimes, you know, when you get 100 euro bill for something you sold, and you think, wow, 100 euro, that's good. But when you think, okay, after paying social contributions, after paying the taxes, that's actually, yeah, like 50%. It's like actually 50% of that, and even more. And a lot of people, that's why they say, okay, I don't want to be self-employed in Belgium. It doesn't make any sense. It's much safer being an employee. There is no risk. But people don't always know that you can optimize your taxes, of course, a lot. And obviously you reduce your amount of tax if you're expensing a lot of business things. And there are a lot of positive things in the end. So, for example, when I was an employee, I couldn't afford paying for expensive digital marketing platforms that I wanted to try. I mean, I could afford, but of course I had to take away that money from, I don't know, my makeup, I don't know, good shampoo and stuff like that. But when you are self-employed, you can expense those things, which are of course relevant to your business. And there is a link also I will give you where you can go and you can see everything that you can expense and the percentage, at what percentage you can expense it. So, for example, now I'm using the platforms like I couldn't dream about, you know, when I was an employee. And it feels so good, you know, I can buy a good phone, a very good camera for yacht tours, for example, that I am organizing. And it feels good, you know, because if I was an employee, and when I was an employee, I was still organizing yacht tours. But if I were to buy something for those tours, I had to take it directly from my pocket and I couldn't reduce my tax on it. So you can definitely play with that when you are self-employed, but you obviously need to know what you can expense at what rate, because it's also can be quite complex. I'll give you an example now. So I was buying a car. I will read maybe a comments now, and I will tell about that. So always tell, Patrick is saying, always tell Belgian government agencies and social security you make no money. You can pay them later if your revenue are higher than expected. By the way, my mistake, it's very important to mention, because I see a lot of people closing their activities because of that. So when I was doing for the first time my attempt, I was working a couple of months as self-employed, and I did a good amount. I don't remember exactly. I think it was 17,000 euros, something like that. And I paid 700 euro of social contributions per quarter. Because again, I didn't take time to understand how much I need to pay. So 2 years later, and yeah, probably a lot of you who are listening to us know that, but if you don't know that, please take a pen and write it down. It will save, it will save you from going to zero, because a lot of people go to zero exactly because of that. The social welfare contributions are recalculated every 2 to 3 years. Why? Because they are recalculated according to your revenue. So you give them your projected revenue, and according to that projected revenue, you pay social contributions now. But it can turn out that you earned more, like in my case. So in 2 years, they will come back to you and you will have to pay the bill. And in my case, it was 1,600 euro bill. Imagine this feeling of opening your post box, and then you see all of a sudden 2 years later, bill for 1,600 euro, something you already even forgot about. And I know I tell you a lot of stories where people were telling me, who were receiving the bills of 10,000 euro, 30,000 euro, which were just killing their business. That's why, you know, when I got the bill this time of 6,000 euro, it was a bit of shock. I have to admit, it was a little bit of shock. But now I would prefer to pay more rather than, you know, to in 2 years to get this huge bill.
So you kind of have to manage this and see which way works best for you, right? Either you pay a bit more in advance and hope, and so you recover some potentially, right? If you don't make as much, or if you declare that you're going to have only, for example, like Patrick, you say you're making no money and then you have to pay later, you still need to set the money aside as you earn it, knowing that you're going to have to pay. So it's either, yeah, I think there are two ways to handle this. But yeah, I think the safe option is just to pay a bit more so that you're on the safe side and there's no surprise later, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the hardest lesson I think ever, and it's very important to put money aside and keep them there. Ruby is asking, and 700 is the absolute max, correct?
No,
That's not the exact amount.
so 700 is actually the minimum that you have to pay if you're a full-time independent. So it's 700 something, 30, whatever, I don't know the number, but so every quarter, right?
I will give you the link later. You will be able to see. It's like all described. Yeah, I think it's not 700. It's 690 something. I don't remember. Well, but it's not
but
the exact
it's
amount.
not the absolute maximum. It's really the minimum for full-time self-employed.
It's the minimum. But of course, I don't know. I was reading again today about social contributions, and it was written that it's not compulsory to pay it if you are not making any revenue.
Yeah.
But I would be also careful about that. Because they will still probably come to you and make you pay.
Look, I am an example of that. I'm not making any money, and I'm not self-employed, and I'm not employed. I'm at zero income. I don't have to pay the 700.
But are you registered though? In serious as it works?
Yes, I do receive Social Security, so I have health insurance, right? So I just pay a little bit for mutuelle, but I don't have to pay the 700 plus or something per quarter because I'm not self-employed. I have no revenue, I have nothing. So no one pays social contributions for me, and I don't pay social contributions. The Belgian government still covers you. If you have no revenue, the government still covers you. It's from the moment you have revenue, you have to pay. If you're full-time self-employed, then I think it's 700 per quarter. and then there's a percentage, the 20.5, etc., right? Based on how much you earn.
Maybe I will clarify this part here. So when you decide to register yourself as self-employed, you register yourself at that social welfare agency, and there are different of that. There are different. Now I'll tell. There are different agencies. So there is Sodexo, there is Acerta, there is SD Works, and the way you choose them, I think they charge a certain percentage, but the difference is not huge. So my accountant was telling me to go to Acerta for some reason, but I read the reviews and people were saying that they're not replying too fast. So I went for Sirius also because it is closed. So the moment you register in those agencies, you need to give them your projected revenue. Based on that revenue, they will be sending you the payments that you need to do. Now, I've never tried to put zero into projected revenue. You might, go and try and see what happens. I wanted to give you 3 other places that you can go to learn more about how to do the shift, how to be self-employed. It's Zenito, Unizo, and Leantis. I put that information into the file that we are going to share with you. But basically, these are the agencies that are providing information for free about how to become self-employed. And I've never I don't know, took advantage of it. I don't understand why. Probably because I'm already past this experience, but maybe it still makes sense to go and try, because there are so many things you can learn that you don't know. And just like Sebastien said, you assume that you will register as self-employed and then the government will take care of you. They will send you all the information you need about what you need to do and when, but there is no information like that. Sometimes they forget to send you invoice. So this example about this 6,000 euro for 2 quarters, they're supposed to send invoice each quarter. So I registered in April and I didn't receive any invoice. So I started worrying. So I wrote them, I didn't receive any invoice. Can you please send it? And then they did. But imagine, I don't know, if I didn't ask, let's say, if I was not aware, and it would come, I don't know, in 2 years again in the bill of 30,000 euro, and there is nothing you can do. They can put a banner in front of your house that's for sale because you're not, I don't know, able to pay, or if you're not paying. So you really need to take the responsibility of knowing when you need to pay social contributions, when you need to pay your VATs, the dates. I will tell you another failure that I had. So my first accountant was this guy who said, I will help you. And he filled out, I think, a couple of my declarations, and then he disappeared. And I was my head was too high in the sky. I don't know what I was thinking about. Again, I was refusing to take responsibility for my own business, for my own money. So what has happened is I didn't pay VAT for 3 quarters. But back then, I was complementary independent. Okay. So I was not earning that much, just like some pennies. But in Belgium, even if you don't earn anything, You have to come to your accountant and say, I had zero revenue, I have nothing to pay. And then they will mark it in the system so the government wouldn't come back to you and wouldn't send you a fine. And I got a fine of 500 euro, and another time I got a fine of, I don't know, 200. I was scared to open my post box. I was like, I don't know, I don't want to know anything. And then I opened post box and there is another
it's
another
already quite hard to make money as a self-employed, even if it's complementary self-employment. And then on top of that, you have to handle all of this paperwork. It's like, it takes courage to start. I would say it takes courage to already be, to take ownership of earning money and be self-employed. And then you have to do all of this extra stuff. So it's not easy, right? And I mean, I wish there was just a simple guide or even an online course on this and say, just guys, and even it should be provided by the government, right? Here's the thing, you just do this, that's it. Just click here and listen to everything and then you'll be ready. No, it should be something like this.
That would be amazing. Maybe there is something even like this in French or in Dutch, but there is nothing in English, definitely, or information is very scattered. And I think the reason why it's not there, because it's changing way fast. They're changing things completely. And again, it's your responsibility to know about that. And I'll tell you what, that accountants many times will not even tell you about that. So finding a good accountant and investing in good accountant is another important thing. And for me, back then, when an accountant would tell me, oh, we charge, I don't know, like 80 euro per hour for accounting services, for me it was like, what? Never, I'll do it myself.
So do you think it's worth it now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. But still, a lot of people complain about accountants in Belgium, because you might sometimes pay them a lot, but it doesn't mean they will guide you. In Belgium, usually accountant is just taking your VAT invoices that you're submitting every quarter. They just process them and they tell you how much you need to pay of VAT. That's all. Maybe if you ask them in the very beginning to explain you things, they will do, but they will never, ever, ever proactively reach you and educate you on how to, lead your business and what kind of benefits you can do. There are some exceptions, but you really need to search for them and dig for them to find those people, and you really need to hold to them. And there are a lot of tips and tricks in Belgium that we don't know about. Again, coming back to my car, by the way, yes. So when I decided to buy a car as self-employed, I thought, like you can expense a lot of it. I was looking at, for example, electric car is 100% expensible. Then hybrid cars are 71 to 76. Well, depends on what kind of hybrid as well. It's also science. Luckily, I found a person who was able to put together all that information, all those numbers together, and tell me that if I have hybrid, not plug-in hybrid, but just normal hybrid, I will be able to expense about 27%. So you should be careful about it as well. When you see those numbers, like an absolute number, 100%, it's not always 100%, because it can be, I don't know, after deducting the taxes and all the complicated formulas and terms they use in Belgium, that you end up at completely different percentage. So this also should be taken into consideration. And this is another advice I would like to share with you. Try to find experts in each area that you work with and don't be afraid of paying money to them, because you will save much more than you will get back.
So I have a question for you on that point. So let's imagine someone who's never done anything complementary, right? Never had the side hustle, never done anything independent. And they're, like they don't even know where to start to make money without having to depending on employer. How do you suggest people go about that, right? Like they have an idea, like say, someone from your community comes and have an idea, but I'm afraid to pay for people to tell me how to put this idea into place before I make any money, because I don't even know if it's going to fly. Like what do you think of that? Like how do people get to start without spending a bunch of money on a lot of expertise before they actually may start making money? That's my main question.
Yeah, but expertise is not always super expensive. I think we get scared before even trying. We think that, okay, I'll go to that expert and he or she will ask, I don't know, 700 or 2,000 euro. But actually you can find people who will do it, I don't know, for 100 euro even, and if you spend even 1 hour with someone knowledgeable, it's already a huge advantage. But then I would pick up 2 approaches. So the first one is to go to the official agencies, like Patrick, for example, mentioned UNIZO. There is, I mentioned 2 other ones, Zenito and Leantis. So go directly to them, and it's free. From what I know, from what I've heard, is free advice. So this is the first approach. And the second approach is surrounding yourself by people who already did it. And then actually there is the third one. I can see, for example, there is Paulina Banas here listening to us. She has an incubator where they provide, hi Paulina. She's also from Fearless Female Founders, and she has I think it's an incubator who provides that kind of expertise and advice. And you know what, like we are always even afraid to ask how much it costs, and we don't never do that. So just ask first and see if you can afford it. And if you are, for example, complementary independent already, you can expense those things, and this is the beauty of it. When you are,
but you're still paying part of it, right? So you expense, you save on what, VAT is it, and but the rest you're still paying. So yeah, I mean, this is also another mind play with money and being able to expense things there. But okay.
But you should always wait, kind of cost benefit, do a little bit of cost benefit analysis. Like for example, about the car that I have mentioned to you, I think I saved about 7,000 euro because of the guy, and I paid him I don't know, like 150 euro. Imagine like what.
Yeah, that's the way, right? Yeah. So the services are, the return on investment is high, and it's clearly worth paying for expert knowledge in many cases. Yeah. I guess as someone who's just starting, it's not easy to just take that first step and spend money on things you have no idea, because you don't know what you don't know until it actually happens, right? And you've gone through a lot of these mistakes. So I guess your advice here is very relevant, because you've tried to do it yourself, and then now you realize the value of actually getting the help you need from the right people and pay for it, because it's worth a lot.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I would tell, like, don't get discouraged if people start judging you, let's say, because sometimes I face that as well. Like when people tell me, how comes you didn't know about that? How comes you didn't do that? And I tied it a little bit to my personality, because I'm a little bit careless at time, and I rush into things. And we are all different. There are people who are taking time to understand what they need to do, how they need to do, and kudos to them, well done. But then there are people like me who are first, like, they don't know the language. They want to do things happen. They want things to happen fast. And, things just happen, But like, I learned the hard way, but this was my way. And, whichever way you learn, it's your way. So don't get discouraged if someone will try, to put you with your nose into your own shit. I'm sorry to say that. Yeah, just walk forward.
Yeah, and look, this is really important because, I mean, obviously, normally the main topic of these conversations is about financial independence and investing. But this is, I mean, the reason I invited you is because entrepreneurship and starting as a freelance or self-employed is a massive step, is one of the keys to really accelerate financial independence, building financial freedom. But it takes courage, right? It takes courage, and then there's all of these potential mistakes, these obstacles, and all of that. And so, yes, like it can be scary. People are gonna criticize you for it because it's basically getting off of the normal track, right, and just going your own way. People don't like to see other people doing things differently because it basically puts them in question, right? But no, I mean, here your message is very important. Everyone listening to this, like, understand that there is tremendous potential for building an amazing life by doing things your way in a sense, or by starting something that you control. And so self-employment is one of those ways, and it's scary, but it's really worth it. And I think here the advice from Anna is, like, even if you're scared, go ahead, learn from mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes first as much as you can, but also just go ahead, make mistakes and make progress, and then grow, right? And I mean, Anna, your journey is basically that. I mean, what you've told us is, all of the all of the scary stuff that's happened to you, but today you're sort of in a better position, you understand things better, and like you have more confidence, right? And confidence is something that gets built over time. It doesn't start with confidence. And I'm reflecting some of your stories to myself, and like, I'm just starting on this journey of entrepreneurship. Like, I do plan on starting a business because there's services I want to provide, but I'm like, I am like sometimes just stuck, and like, I don't even know where to go next, what to do next, how to handle things, like who to pay for what, how much it's going to cost. I have no clue still, despite having spent already quite a bit of time. So yeah, everyone out there who's wondering and who's thinking about doing something like this, like, yeah, don't be scared, go ahead. It's I think there's a lot that can come out on the other side. And we should definitely be talking more to people who are self-employed and who can share their experiences. And I mean,
I
Anna,
would
you're the first we're doing that with, but I think we'll do more of that because it's amazing.
I would love to hear more stories like this, because
Yeah.
we have an interesting networking in Fearless Female Founders. And I didn't know what to expect from it when we started. I thought, we will just come together and chat and everything. But when we started to come together, and those women, they started to share their stories of building their businesses, all of a sudden you understand that you are not alone. Because when you're not talking about those things, it seems that everyone is doing just amazingly well,
Yeah.
and things are just working fine for everyone, and I'm just alone with those struggles and stupid, and I don't know what. But once people start sharing their stories, you understand that everyone going through their own struggles, everyone has obstacles, and people get the bills of 10,000 euro and 30,000 euro,
Yeah.
and losing their businesses and starting over again. And some people come back to employment. It's a choice, because you try it and you kind of start to understand, okay, this is for me or this is not for me. For me, the biggest difference between being in corporate and being self-employed is not being a part of politics in the company. And as a woman, because yeah, you were asking me this question in the beginning, how and why to be an entrepreneur. As a woman, I was always struggling to hear my voice heard when I was in the corporate world. So when I was in the room with more than one man, just, forget about your opinion. I I just I just couldn't voice myself, Well, probably also because I look young, maybe, I don't know. But this is something that always made me feel frustrated. And then also the mistakes, that you do in the corporate world, and the way people make you feel about those mistakes. Like, you're not human, you're not supposed to do mistakes. And okay, like when I work for the client, of course, I need to be very cautious about that, because as I told you, like, I'm not details oriented. I keep on doing mistakes. But when I build my business and I do my mistakes, I was like, it's okay. It's okay to do those mistakes. And it's okay to have misspells in emails. And it's okay, I don't know, to make a mistake in the banner and everything. I'm just moving ahead, with what I'm dreaming about. And I don't care about what people say that much. Well, I care a little bit, but it's not like in the corporate world, because they will hold it against you, against your promotion, against your relationships with them. So this is the biggest difference for me, which I think will keep me on the other side, on the side of being self-employed.
Yeah, and I think it's what the problems that you're expressing here, they're everywhere. I mean, I've in my own career I've seen an unfair treatment. Like, it's just people are not the same. Sometimes clients, right? But also within the team, management, some management guys are just not fair towards women, and it's really sad. And so it's a thing. It's something that needs to be changed. And I think there's progress in some companies that adopt certain management style and certain policies, but there's so much to do. Patrick is saying here, this is simply bad management and leadership. You should never feel bad about making mistakes. Yeah, and he's saying it also happens among men. Yes, of course. It's not. I mean, yes, men do have their own share of issues too, but I think the issues with women are clearly something that we need to improve. And that, yeah. And so, entrepreneurship is basically one way, right? If you can't fix the world, you go and do the things you can on your own, and then build around what you can handle, right? But when things are happening because it's just company cultures like that, you can't change that. You're not going to change company culture on your own. So yeah, entrepreneurship is a clear solution to all of that.
Yeah, definitely. There is one more thing I wanted to mention. If anyone doesn't know, and this is something I didn't do for the first time during my first attempt, I didn't create a separate business account. So this is also something very important, and this is something I really need to change in my mindset, that I have my personal account and then I have my business account. And I always need to think that, okay, what is it that I'm buying? Is it to be bought with a business card, or is it bought with the personal cards? And whatever I'm buying, will that company be able to provide me the invoice with my VAT number, or they will not be able to provide it? So those are things that are very important. And also writing down straight away, so whatever you bought, there are applications for that, I know, but I haven't tried them yet. I put them into the file because I want to try them. I don't know if they are really helpful, because I know some friends who are in business for quite a while, and they prefer Excel files, because they have more freedom to play with numbers. But those applications are becoming popular because it's easy to track all your expenses. You can take a picture of your invoice and you will never lose it. And believe me, with me always procrastinating, to put all the incoming invoices and outgoing invoices into one file, put the right amount, put the conversion rate as well, because I buy a lot of courses from Russia as well. And believe me, compiling more than 70 invoices over, that you collected over the quarter, it's draining. It takes a lot of time and effort and nerve. And since the last time, I kind of promised myself that I will do it every month, but today is what, the fourth? I haven't done yet. But yeah, that's where I had to change my mindset. So whatever I buy, I put the invoice in a way that I don't lose it, and I put it directly online, so I wouldn't lose those numbers, because everything that you buy for business, well, not every, but most of them, like, you can expense, and this will reduce your tax. That's why it's so important to do that.
Yeah, accounting and tracking. It's the same. I mean, you do that for business, you do that for your own life too, hopefully. No, but yeah, as part of, the whole financial independence movement, we basically try to treat our own personal finances as business finances. But then as we move into entrepreneurship, we actually need to apply those same principles to business finance. And in this case, I mean, there's a lot more to do, obviously, than just tracking net worth or your bank account statements and all this. But yeah, so this is definitely important to do. I wanted to ask you a few questions about fearless female founders. You mentioned it a couple of times in the conversation so far, but so what is it, and what happens there? And obviously, is it only for women?
Yeah, it is only for women. And the reason I've decided to do it only for women, because I want to have this secure environment where women can share anything they wouldn't usually share if there were men around. That's the first reason. And the second reason, I believe that we are very much different biologically, physiologically, psychologically, which we were denying for so many years. And it's such a strange thing to talk about it now, because there is this strong movement of feminism, which is confused, like equality, I think, is confused with biological differences and how we build our businesses. And I remember, I went to Tony Robbins. I think it was more than 3 years now ago. And the whole thing, I mean, it was very powerful training in London. But the message was: burn the boats, go for your dream, risk everything, and I had so much energy, and I came back, and that's probably why I was fired, because I was pushing the boundaries too much. But then I realized that that's not how we women function. We produce, and we are more productive in the flow rather than under pressure. Well, I will not go deeply into it now, but there are a hell of a lot of a difference between how men and women perform better under different conditions, let's say, and this is very important. And we just start discovering it now. It's crazy. In the 21st century, we are just trying to discover how to be a business woman, as a woman, actually, not behaving like the male way. And this is a completely different thing. And the reason why I established this community, I think it was almost 3 years now ago, is because I wanted to be entrepreneurial, and I wanted to learn from someone, and I couldn't find anyone back then, as I told you. So yeah, that was one of the reasons. And what we do in Fearless Female Founders, we do networking events. Well, COVID prevented us, unfortunately, but we are going to do one online on the 7th of August and see how it goes. It will be the first online networking event. I share my experience, and I'm building also programs. One of the first programs is how to get energy for your dreams. For example, I have a book written on that. Well, it's a small book, but still it's a book, 64 pages. So I can share it with you if you want maybe not now because I'm redesigning the course and it's kind of tied to the course, but the book is free. I'm usually giving it away for free. Then I have a very serious course that I have completed on unleashing your potential and boosting your manifestation power. And this is what I call kind of more female thing, because I know that men can do that as well, but women, they have more like intuition, and they kind of have more manifestation power than men, probably because they pay attention more to intuition and emotions than men. But it's also under construction now. It's finished. I just need to put it online. And then there is the third course that I did recently. It's a small course, but powerful, is on stock investing. It's also kind of, I think it's like a different story as well to share. Stock investing also gives you security. And I think for women, it's also extremely important. And I want to cry, honestly, when I hear the stories. There are these private groups, you know, where there are only women, and there are anonymous messages that are coming in where women are asking for help because there is a domestic violence, like their husbands or their men, they're beating them badly, they are threatening to take their children, and they just cannot leave because they don't have financial means to do so. And you can't imagine how many cases there are like this in Belgium. And, you know, when you hear it from someone, it seems so far away and it seems not real. But when you read it and you know there is a woman who is here in Belgium who wrote it, you are like completely shocked. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, if you were financially educated, if we would invest in stocks since like early age, we would have this security of going away, of leaving that violence. Mm. So it's for personal reasons and for business reasons as well. So I do put away every month a certain amount of money into stock investing. And it gives me this feeling of security that, you know, if anything happens, I have that money and they are there, they are growing. And it's very important, you know, not to have €0 in your balance. And what I do as well, I don't know if any one of you does that, let me know, I'm curious. The amount that I put away for taxes. So I take a little bit of that money and I put them into stock investing. And well, I feel quite secure about that because being a part of this group as well, I invest in ETFs. So these are quite secure funds, but don't listen to me like 100%. Of course, you never know, that there could be a drop, a crash. In long term, of course, that money, they're going to grow, but you need to know how to manage them, basically. Well, how not to get scared, you know, and sell them at the lowest point.
So you mentioned two things here that I want to come back to. You know, financial independence, like in the general media, is like the big, the thing where people can stop working and all of this. And there's a lot of that in the media, American media, mostly in English. And it is a goal that a lot of people aspire to, but really, like what you just told us here, the story about the women who do struggle to even be just independent in their life and be able to make decisions for their own safety and own health, and it's prevented because they don't have the financial means or the financial education or whatever it is. That is financial independence, right? That is where it starts, this basic financial security, right? Just having money aside that allows you to do things when the situation requires you to make big moves. And that could be, yes, also related to family relationship, moving out of the house because there's violence, because of other issues. And so this is so important. Like when we talk about FI in this group, we tend to talk about that, but let's start from the base. Like everybody needs financial security. It's essential for people to be able to take good life decisions and do the best they can for themselves and for their children, people around them. So it's really important. I want to emphasize this again, because financial independence isn't just this faraway goal. It's every single step on the way. It's building financial security, building a bit of freedom, having more options. And that is so important. So thanks for bringing that back to the conversation. It's super important to me. And then the other aspect that you were talking about, I mean, maybe you have something to say about this again, but yeah, anyway, thanks for sharing that example, because it's very powerful. And it's true that we don't always realize that such abuse can happen in our country, right? So yeah, we need to be aware of that, which makes this mission of financial education even more important. And many of us in this group are embarked on this mission, and I think that gives us even more motivation to do it well. And so you were saying also that the money you save, that you put aside for taxes, you invest part of that, and then the idea is that you would sell to pay your taxes, and you just hope that it will grow in the meantime. So that's interesting, because yes, statistically there's a good chance it's going to go up, right? But there's also some chance it's going to go down. So it's like taking risk with your savings for the tax. But I think, if you know what you're doing and you have extra, and if you're not investing everything, it can pay off, because long term it's supposed to go up. So I think it's a valid strategy if you have extra savings, and you don't mind having to just take more from your savings to pay if there's a crash by the time you have to sell.
You should.
Interesting.
You should balance it. And that's why I take, as I told you, a small amount from that. So it's not like I took all the money that I put aside for taxes and put them into stocks. No, not at all. Even though sometimes I feel like, but like I refrain. But a certain amount, yes, I do invest into stocks.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's very cool. And so, I mean, I'd like to open the floor for questions, but I have just a couple more questions for you before we do that. What are your projects now? What are your aspirations for the future? Where are you going next?
So I want to continue growing the community of fearless female founders, and making voices of women heard more. So I plan to write a book together with other women, so they would share their own stories of how they were building their businesses and what does it mean to be a femalepreneur. And also another project is to release an article where women share their struggles and also aspirations of being entrepreneurs, but here in Belgium. Because I hear a lot of stories that you have to take still the burden of taking care of children is a lot on women's shoulders. So recently I was talking to one businesswoman, and she said, I don't know how to do it anymore. So you are either a businesswoman or you're a mother. You can't really split those two things. So I wonder, like, how, if governments can somehow take care of that, because that's one of the reasons we can't freely go and take our time for building our businesses. So these are two projects that I have in mind. And then, of course, continue building the academy, which is 360 degrees academy, because I believe into a holistic approach. I don't believe, like, if you give someone a training on how to do a business plan, and they will just go and build the whole business. We sometimes have a lot of psychological obstacles, the mindset that we need to change, some blocks from our past that are preventing us from building our businesses. I don't know, in my case, as I told you, I have never had any entrepreneurs in my family, And during Tsarism time, our family was knocked down, so all the money were taken from the family. The father had a heart attack, and the whole family stayed found themselves on the streets, and my grandmother had to go to orphanage. So all those ancestral traumas, they are affecting us, not in a magical way. It's the limiting, not even the limiting beliefs, but just the beliefs that we shaped, our ancestors shaped, which were given from generation to generation. You know, that you cannot trust people, that it's better not to hold money because someone will come and take them. So all those things, they are also very important. When you build your business, you should be aware of them, and you should know how to clear them as well to go ahead. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, best of luck with all that. I think there's so much work to do and it looks really interesting. I think we need to find something like that for men, because I'm like, I want to be in all of this, but I can't join Fearless Female Founders. So I need to find some other groups. Look, I wanted to thank you for joining us today. We're going to open the question for to the people in the audience, but I wanted to ask one last thing: is where can people find more about you? And then you also mentioned a file that you wanted to share. Like what how can people get access to that?
Good question. So to know, to know a little bit more about me, but I think I shared my story. You can go to we-fearless.com. There is my story there. There is a link to Fearless Female Founders as well. I have Instagram. Join me on Instagram. I will share it with you here now. Anna Boroshok is just like my first and last name. Yeah, you can join me on LinkedIn. And then sharing the file with you. What do you think would be the best way to do that?
So you have a link, a place where people can just go and get it?
It's not Dropbox. It's
what we can do is we can share it by email after the event if you want. Well, you let me know, basically.
Well, I wonder if I can share it just here, because it's just the folder with 3 documents about taxes and social welfare. By the way, again, don't take them as 100% truth. Always cross-check it with your accountant. And yeah, all the agencies that I have mentioned. Yeah, some useful things. I'll just drop it here. It's on Drive, so you can just go and grab it.
Okay. Well, thank you. Really appreciate it. So everyone, please feel free to join the conversation. I see there are some questions in the chat, but even better if you can ask the question directly by joining the call. There's a question from Eve. Evie, would you like to join and maybe ask your question directly? I see that Paulina had some comments as well. Paulina, if you want to join the conversation, feel free to turn on your mic, turn on your camera as well, if you like, because then we know who we're talking to. And yeah, so let's chat. I mean, we have about another 25 minutes, and so Anna can answer your questions and respond to your comments here. But please just turn on your camera and your microphone and let's have a chat. I see that Evie has turned on her camera. So you had a question, right?
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Great. Coming in here from my nice terrace outside. It has been a nice evening listening to a very, very interesting story. I wanted to find out more about your thinking about financial independence, Anna, besides some of the aspects that you explained, but your personal goals. I can see that you've been, thinking about it from so many different angles, and you have learned so much. And like, what kind of goals do you have for yourself, and how do you plan to leverage entrepreneurship or multipreneurship to get there? Or is that specifically part of the plan, or they're just kind of mutually reinforcing activities that you're doing?
Yeah,
Am I
thanks
correct?
for the question. Yeah, it's a good question. Um, when we're talking about financial goals with the activities that I do now, I don't stress myself with certain amounts. I know different people have different approach to that, and some people are really motivated by putting a goal and going after it. But I found that for me it doesn't really work, because if I don't achieve that goal, yeah, I just get upset. So I more I would say in the last year I more focus on this state of flow, achieving the state of flow when I do things not under stress, and when I start feeling good about what I do, then more money starts coming in. But saying that, I also balance, how much I can earn. Sometimes I can add several days to earn more when I feel like I need more, and sometimes when I feel that I need to rest, I would reduce the amount of days. But that's if we are talking about like really earning money from my activities. But if we are talking about investing, as I told, I put away a certain amount of money each month for stock investing. So I do invest into stocks. So it's a rule. So every month I have this amount that I need to put into stock investing. And thanks to stock investing as well, I bought an apartment in Antwerp. So that apartment is already paying for itself. So I am considering in the future buying another property if finances allow me, so I would feel like more security. And an interesting thing about that, I'm not a saving type. So there are people who can really, save and not buy things. I'd rather buy than not. And I accept it. I tried to change it for so many times. It's like, okay, Anna, don't buy it, don't buy it. And in the end, I buy it anyways. But buying an apartment was a solution for me, because I knew that in the beginning, because I bought it as a first property, so I had to live there and pay the mortgage myself. So I knew that every month I have to pay this amount. So I can't, just spend it on shoes and makeup and stuff like that. So for me, it was the way of saving the money. Instead of wasting money, I just pay my mortgage. And now I rent it and I pay it pays for itself, and the value grew up by 30% already for the last 4 years. So I think it was a good decision.
Does that help, Eva? Do you have other questions?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I think it's nice. It's very, I mean, it shows how everyone has their own path, and I like this idea that if you cannot save enough, at least you start acting, and you can buy, for example, with a loan, but you already are doing things, not just waiting and struggling. So I think it's really good to hear different voices. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I think like the older you become, the more you start to accept who you actually are. And instead of denying and running away from yourself, or like beating up yourself for buying things. But exactly like what I said, you need to find the way to still grow your financial independence in spite of your spending habits.
Yeah, and then the balance between earning and saving, right? So you're very much focused on finding ways to earn more. And I think that's, that's a very powerful way of building financial independence. And it's something that is often neglected in vast majority of cases, but especially because it's very difficult. But that seems to be easier for you than saving. So brilliant.
No, but then that's the thing. That's why I'm preaching manifestation. It's all in our head in the end. If we believe that earning money is hard, then it will be hard. But it's a process. It's easy to say just like this now. Just wish for more money and they will come. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like this. It's a lot of inner work that you have to go through, a lot of habits that you need to change mentally, sometimes even physically. I'll just bring you a quick example. So my money mindset was always about scarcity, exactly because of our ancestral history. That money were taken away from us. My grandma was growing in the orphanage, and of course my grandma growing in the orphanage had struggles in her life, and she transferred it to my mom. And how it works is that those ancestors, they're repeating basically the same things over and over again. We don't have enough money. To earn money is a struggle. It's better not to, it's safer not to have money. Or sometimes, that you don't deserve. And this is how I grew up, this feeling of scarcity all the time. So even when I was already working in these huge corporations, earning like top 10%, so I was in the top 10% of people earning the highest salaries in the world, I would still have the feeling that I don't have. And I didn't. What I was doing, I was not saving those money. I would get rid of them in every possible way. And something would always happen that would take those money away from me. So basically we are attracting what we are thinking. And every time I was entering the shop, I was like, oh my God, this is expensive. Oh my God, I cannot afford this. Oh, I feel guilty of buying that. So I had to work every time on being aware, when I see something, and I teach myself to think, this is not expensive. You can afford it. You're worth it. You deserve it. Take it and enjoy it. So instead of feeling guilt, feeling pleasure. And when you feel pleasure, that's when you attract more good things into your life and more money as well, because money is also energy. And when you're always getting rid of money as well, then the universe will always drain them.
Yeah.
You need to love money in a way.
And so this is where you mentioned manifestation earlier. It's something I don't know very much about, but I'm guessing this is related to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, manifestation. It's absolutely amazing how manifestation can absolutely change our life and how much it can bring in our life. But we need to learn how to do that. And again, like I bring you an example. For me, when I knew 100% that manifestation works, is when I've been to ayahuasca. If someone doesn't know what ayahuasca is, it's an ancient plant from Latin America that kind of connects you to your subconscious. And so when I did it, what I've seen in my subconscious is there are two parts in my world, in my subconscious world. One is trashed by fears, by being scared of everything that I kind of want, but it doesn't work. And the second part was completely empty. So it was just a green part with 3 trees on it. And when I came back home, I mean, I knew what the message was. So my subconscious was telling me that your world is trashed by your fears. But what are your dreams? What do you really want in your life? What really makes you excited? So I came back home, and I started dreaming. I started dreaming about blue sea, transparent waters, yachts. And in 2 days, an old acquaintance of mine contacted me. Like, I haven't talked to him like in 7 years. And he told me, look, I became a captain, a skipper. I now organize sea trips on yachts. Would you like to organize those trips with me?
Wow.
And at that moment, I absolutely knew that it's like the direct communication with the universe. You know, when you connect to what you truly want, you start to vibrate on the frequency that just brings those things to you. And I have manifested so many things that really make me happy, you know, make me vibrate. Like I like visual things. I like filming and taking pictures. And for example, I manifested a drone, which is 1,600 euro for 109 euro. So basically, I went to a marketplace and it was 109 euro instead of 1,600.
Okay.
And again, at that moment, and I knew 100% that I'm talking to the universe, because when I was thinking about this drone and how I will use it when we are in the sea, when we are in Croatia, when we are on this heart islands where we can use it, I could feel that vibration. And what it's this feeling called the feeling of flow. And when you experience it, you feel it. I mean, it comes with time, like when you understand that vibration. But then things manifest really, really fast. And recently I've manifested GoPro 8. So again, you know, like the universe knows what makes me happy. Like I know what makes me happy, being in the sea, filming underwater. And all of a sudden someone gives it to me for free. I mean, I didn't pay a cent for it.
Perfect. Okay, so I need to learn this technique. Well, no, but thanks for sharing. I mean, yeah, it's quite personal, and thanks for sharing. I know that there's some other people who have questions. Please feel free to ask. I think Eve had the question. I think you're still.
Yeah, I'm happy to ask. I feel like I'm taking over the asking the questions part all myself.
Anyone who wants to ask, they can, you know, they'll just take the floor and ask, and that's all.
No worries.
So, go ahead.
Usually it's me that's an annoying person with all the questions. Please.
Yeah, so what I'm curious about, and now I'm taking it to like a completely different topic that we haven't even discussed here today. But I'm curious, you know, as we have you here now sharing everything, and you have this long career in digital marketing. And I just checked you out on LinkedIn and sent you a connection request. And I was just wondering, like, I think many of us here on this kind of meetup, we're not experts in this field. And I'm wondering, is there anything, like what would be the one thing the one advice or one aspect you would share with us that you think that people normally don't know about digital marketing, but it would benefit them that they would know, like something that we don't think about it as like the daily users of social media and all the online tools, but just knowing something, this one thing that could help us in some way. I'm sure you have many, but like one.
Yeah, it's not an easy question, but at the same time, I think I have an answer. The first one, which I struggle myself with, is really connecting to people. And this one is more psychological one again, that you have to work on psychological level as well. Because for me, it was always like, because our father has abandoned us, and I was like, I can do everything on myself. I can trust only myself. Everyone wants something from you. So yeah, like clearing all those blocks and really being able to connect to people. It's not really digital marketing, but people feel it a lot, even through the screen. So giving value to people and putting people in front yourself rather than, just trying to sell something. And for me, it was like a struggle for a long time, because I come from the commercial world of Microsoft and Google, where everything was about selling, 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 selling. And even at work, sometimes people, tell me to calm down, and not trying to use ads a lot. But this is what shaped me in corporate career. So you really need to look into inside of yourself and see maybe what blocks you, and really connecting to people on emotional level and really taking care of people. And the second one, funnels.
Okay, tell us, what is a funnel? I think it's going to be new for a lot of people here.
I think you know about that, but funnels is a very popular and typical thing now. Is when you give people something for free, to show them what kind of value you can give them, how they can benefit from you, and when they get to know you a little bit better, then you sell them a little bit more expensive products. And then even more expensive products. And there are a lot of different platforms plugging in on this journey, on this funnel journey. So for example, you advertise your book, let's say, or your guides through advertising. Then when people get that book, they get into your email. And then the whole email marketing starts with different funnels. For example, the first funnel is a welcome funnel. The second funnel is get to know me better. The third funnel is more about products. And then using also funnels in social networks. So I think just educating yourself on what funnels are and how they work.
Oh, thanks for that. Super useful. I actually did not even know what the word meant. So thanks for asking, Sebastian. That was good to ask the
Yeah, I mean,
qualifying
it's something
question.
I've learned about recently too. So I'm like, well, we have to explain this because it's important.
But
Yeah,
it's
so that's
actually,
when you have something to sell, right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the method now.
Well, it's been there for a while.
Mhm.
It's just becoming more institutionalized, so to say. Like it's really structural. What you need to do, step 1, 2, 3. Actually, when I will share with you, for example, the link to my guide on stock investing, you will see how that funnel works.
Yeah, because that's basically a funnel, right? There's something that you get for free, and then there's like a series of email, and then there's going to be an offer. And that's basically how you get to the person who is interested in that specific product or that specific topic will basically get to learn and grow and progress with you. And there's at some point, there's a transaction. But yeah, that's the process.
Exactly. Yeah. So taking time to learn about them. And honestly, being a digital marketeer, for me, it's already quite, it's not that it's super complex, it's just it takes time. Writing emails, for example. I don't have email funnels yet. Like, I work for my client, and I'm like, in Russian we say, a hairdresser without a hairstyle. So I have the initial part of the funnel, but not email marketing yet. But it is very important. So like I do it for my client, but for myself, I still need to find time to do it. And
So you have to hire yourself and assign yourself a rate that you get to work for yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
And ask the universe to pay me.
Yeah. And pay tax, says Ruby. Perfect. Does anyone else have any additional question? Because we are getting to the end of the 2 hours. But I think we have maybe time for one last small question. And if there aren't any, then I'll just say thank you, Anna. Again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your journey. Thanks for sharing your experience. Thanks for teaching us on so many different topics. I mean, we've gone from just Belgium crazy to manifestation, to funnels, to all of that. So no, that was really interesting. It's quite a different talk from all of those that we've had before, but very refreshing and very educational. So thanks a lot for that.
I'm super grateful for being a part of this community and being able actually to talk to you, but not only to you, but also to all the people who are participating. I think it's extremely important, and sharing each other's stories. It's motivating and inspiring. So let's don't give up, but at the same time be in a flow. Trust the universe that it's leading us to where we should be, taking the lessons on the way, and also not forgetting to enjoy the journey.
Brilliant. That's a perfect concluding message. Okay, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining. Again, thanks, Anna. We'll see everyone in the group and in future meetups. We'll have one in a week. We have one every Tuesday night normally. So we can chat again soon. So that's it, I think. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Take care. Right. That's all for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. As always, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you join the Financial Independence Belgium Facebook group or the meetup page. And you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, so you can follow us there. Feel free to ask us questions and let us know what other topics you would like us to cover. Also, be sure to join the groups, because we are having regular community meetups, which are not recorded, not shared on YouTube, but they're just a cool place where people can gather and talk about personal financial questions in a very confidential way, because these are not recorded and it's only for the people who attend. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Cheers.